Hey guys, CryptoDad here again, and today I'm going to show you how to install Ledger Live on a new computer. So let's get started. Alright, so I'm here on the web page for Ledger Live. I'll put a link to this down in the description below. This is where you can download the Ledger Live software for your Ledger hardware device. Now, I get a lot of questions about Ledger Live and recovering crypto and accessing crypto. And so I just want to show you how you can take your Ledger Live software and install it on a different machine. Now, this might be a laptop, so that you can monitor your cryptocurrency from two different locations. It might be a brand new machine that you've just bought. You want to install Ledger Live on your new machine and then retire your old desktop. Or maybe your computer or hard drive crashed and you need to install Ledger Live from scratch, clean, right, without any of the preferences information. So this tutorial will cover all of those scenarios. Now, the thing to remember here is that I have a Ledger device that has all of the wallet information on here that I'm going to need. So a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that they need to somehow reset this device, or they accidentally do it when they're trying to install a new copy of Ledger Live. So I want to show you how to do this successfully without wiping any of the data that you have on your Ledger device. Now, no matter what your scenario is, you are going to need to download a copy of Ledger Live on the new computer. So on the Ledger Live homepage, you can just click Download App here, and then scroll down here where it says Ledger Live App, and then choose the version for your platform, right? So I'll choose the Windows app, and then we can just drop this in our Downloads folder. Now, I want to take a look at my current Ledger Live. Now, if you're installing Ledger Live on a brand new computer, you'll still have access to your previous version of Ledger Live, and you'll be able to take note of all of the accounts that you have in your current version of Ledger Live. So if you bought a new computer, and you can just check your old desktop and make note of all of these accounts. You can take a screenshot or you can write all of these down, right? It might be a good idea to take a screenshot just in case something happens to your computer, right? I'll just go over what I've got here. I've got a Litecoin, DigiByte, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Stellar, Tezos, and then down here I have two accounts that are associated with a different device, right? So I have my Ledger Nano X that has all of the accounts that we just went over, and then I also have my older Ledger Nano S that has two accounts on it that are in my Ledger Live. You can manage multiple devices in Ledger Live. So I'm going to show you how this works when we recreate Ledger Live on the new machine. Now, if your computer has crashed and you're installing Ledger Live from scratch, then you're just going to have to remember the cryptocurrencies that you were managing. And then you can also sort of play hide and seek with your Ledger device and look for accounts. So I'll show you how to go about that. All right, so here we are. We're going to assume now that we're on the new machine. It's never had a copy of Ledger Live installed on it before. But we do have our hardware devices, right? So all of the wallet information that we need for Ledger Live is safely stored on these devices. But while we're doing this operation, we want to make sure that we don't inadvertently reset these devices, which some people do when they're reinstalling Ledger Live. So I'll start by double-clicking the installer and getting going. Let's just go ahead and install Ledger Live in the default location. All right, and then we'll go ahead and run Ledger Live. All right, and this is what you're going to see in a fresh copy of Ledger Live. So let's hit Get Started. We'll go ahead and agree to these terms. And here we go. Now, it doesn't really matter. As I mentioned, I have two devices. I have a Ledger Nano S and a Ledger Nano X. It doesn't really matter what device you choose when you run this initial setup. It just makes the instructions more specific to the device you own, but it doesn't really change the configuration of Ledger Live or anything like that. It's just to make the instructions more user-friendly based on whatever device you choose here. I'll go ahead and choose X, Now, here is the most important screen when we're reinstalling Ledger Live. We don't want to do this. We don't want to say this is the first time that we're using our Ledger Nano X, because it's not, right? We already have a device and it's already got wallets on it, right? We don't want to start over, right? So what we want to say is we already have a recovery phrase. Now, I'm assuming that you have your recovery phrase written down. That's the 24-word recovery phrase that you write down when you initially set up your device, right? We're not going to need it in this case because we're not restoring this device. We're simply installing a clean copy of Ledger Live. But it is a good idea that you make sure you know where it is. Now that we've established that we already have a recovery phrase, we need to do one of two things. And we're not going to restore, as I mentioned. We're not restoring this device because the device is intact, right? We don't need to restore it. We already have all of the information we need on the device. We're just going to choose Connect Your Nano X. So we'll click that, right? And now we need to connect our device and enter our PIN. All right, so you can see that I have my device connected with a cable, and I'm at the home screen of the device, right? This is where all of my apps are. I'm not in any of the apps. I'm just at the top level of the menu. All right, now we can continue with the installation, right? So we'll choose Check My Nano. You're going to need to allow Ledger Manager. So we'll hit both buttons. And I passed the genuine check. I knew I would. We'll hit continue here. And now we've made it past all of the pitfalls, right? A lot of people get hung up. They're not sure what they're doing, and they end up either restoring the device or resetting the device accidentally, right? We don't need to go through any of that. We have an intact device. So now all we need to do is just go through and add accounts one by one until we have all our accounts back. All right, so I'll go ahead and start with Bitcoin. That's probably the best place. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I took note of all of my accounts, right? I wrote them down on a piece of paper. You may have a screenshot or something of that nature. Or if you don't know what was on there, you can just go through cryptocurrency by cryptocurrency and just check for accounts, right? We happen to know what we're looking for. But let's go ahead and just click Add Account, and we'll choose Bitcoin. And then we'll choose continue. All right, now it's directing me to open the Bitcoin app on my device. So I'll hit both buttons for that. All right, and once it's finished scanning your device, it's going to give you the option to enable all of the accounts or wallets that it found on your device. Now, I'm not really interested in these zero balance ones. I have a lot of them. You may not. You may only have one or two accounts, or you may just have the one account that has the balance in it. In today's case, I'm not worried about these really low balance accounts. I'm not interested in those, but I am interested in this one, which is the balance that I had on my Bitcoin account before we got started. I can hit deselect all and just choose that one account. It's also asking me if I want to add an empty account. I really don't need an empty account right now, so I'm not going to tick this one off either. Now, if you remember, I had named it appropriately for me. I had named it Bitcoin Main. It doesn't really matter to Ledger Live what name you gave it, but for your own comfort and ease, it might be a good idea to just go ahead and name it what you had named it before. So in my case, I called mine Bitcoin Main. So you can edit right here. It doesn't really matter. The Bitcoin will still be tracked, but if you're an organized type person, you might want to rename the account. And then you may have been managing multiple Bitcoin accounts, right? So in your case, you might find 2 or 3 that have balances, right? So just name them accordingly. I'll hit Add Account here. And then you can see there that I've got the Bitcoin account back, right? And I can see it in my account list. So now let's just go through and add the other accounts. I'll hit Add Account here. And this time I'll choose Ethereum. and I'll hit continue. The device will exit the Bitcoin app and ask you to open the Ethereum app. So I'll hit both buttons there. And it's going to scan my device for any existing Ethereum wallets. All right, and you'll notice that it found 2 different Ethereum accounts. Now you can add both of these or one or the other. It doesn't really matter. You can always scan to find any accounts that you don't have in Ledger Live. In today's case, I'm just going to add this second one here, and I'll call it what I had called it before, which was Ethereum main. So notice that I'm not adding this account. You don't have to manage all of your accounts in Ledger Live if you don't want to, right? You can keep certain accounts sort of hidden in the wallet, right? And then access them when you need them, all right? So in today's case, I'm not going to add this account. We'll just hit add account, and then we're done there. And now we've got the Bitcoin and Ethereum. So let's just go through and add the rest of them. I had Litecoin, so I'll hit add account. I'll choose Litecoin, and I'll hit continue. Right, now it's going to exit the Ethereum app for me and then ask me to open the Litecoin app. So I'll hit both buttons there. This one was pretty straightforward. There's only one Litecoin account in there, and I had just called it Litecoin. So I'll just shave off that number 1 and hit add account. We're done with that one. All right there, and then I accidentally added the new one. I didn't really want to do that. So it's really easy to just get rid of an account that you don't want to track in Ledger Live. I'll just right click on it and choose edit account and then choose delete, right? Just an empty wallet that I really don't want to see in Ledger Live. All right, notice Litecoin went to the top because it's sorted by highest balance. All right, let's just continue on. We can hit add account again. And this time I'll do the DigiByte account. It's kind of down in the hierarchy, so you can just find it easily by searching. All right, there it is. I'll just click on that and I'll hit continue. All right, and it's going to ask me to open the DigiByte account. I'll hit both buttons. All right, it found that DigiByte account. I'm just going to take that one off and hit add account. We're done with that one. I also had Stellar. So I'll choose add account again, and I can just search for Stellar by starting to type the name, and then there's Stellar. We'll hit continue. All right, it wants me to open the Stellar app. I'll hit both buttons. All right, there it found my Stellar account. I'll go ahead and just add that. Shave that one off and hit add account. We're done there. And last but not least on my Ledger Nano X was Tezos. So I'll just type that in. T-E-Z. All right, and there it goes. We'll hit that and continue. Now notice it exits the Stellar app and then asks me to open the Tezos app. So I'll hit both buttons. All right, and it found that Tezos account pretty easily. I'll just edit the name a little bit and choose add account. And we're done. All right, now we have all of the accounts back that were on my Ledger Nano X. But what about those other 2 accounts that I noted earlier that were associated with my other ledger, the Ledger Nano S? Well, that's simple. All we have to do is disconnect this guy, right? I'll just disconnect this one. All right, now I'm going to connect my Ledger Nano S. This is a different cable, by the way, but if you own a Ledger Nano S, you probably have the right cable for it. I'll just connect the Ledger Nano S, and then I'll enter my PIN. Now we're in a bit of a dilemma because if you remember, and I do because I wrote it down, there are 2 accounts on this device that I'm tracking in Ledger Live. One is Ethereum and the other is Litecoin. But you'll notice that I don't have Ethereum or Litecoin on this particular device. But the wallets are still there. So what do? I need to go into Ledger Manager. And I'll allow Ledger Manager. We'll hit both buttons here. I need Ethereum and Litecoin. So I'm going to need to uninstall these apps. I'll go over here to Apps Installed. And I'll hit Uninstall Bitcoin. and uninstall Harmony One. I want to make room for the 2 apps that I want to re-add to Ledger Live. All right, once that's done, I can go back over here. I can install Ethereum, and I can install Litecoin. Whoops, okay. All right, some apps require the Bitcoin app, so let me hit that and see if there's enough room on here. Barely, right? Just made it. I could have uninstalled the Monero app too. I can always reinstall any of these apps if I need to manage any of these cryptocurrencies. The wallets will always be available if you reinstall the app. All right, so there's no harm in deleting and reinstalling apps on the Ledger Nano S. The reason we do this is because the Ledger Nano S doesn't have room for that many apps. All right, so now we can go over here, right, and we can see that we have all of the apps on here that we need, right? Ethereum and Litecoin. All right, so let's go back to Manage Accounts. And we'll go ahead and start with Ethereum. We'll hit Continue. It's going to ask us to open the Ethereum app on this device. We'll hit both buttons. All right, and there we go. Now, I could just add this account and call it Ethereum 1. It is different than the other Ethereum account. But I want to remember that this account is associated with my Ledger Nano S. So I'll just call it Ethereum Ledger S so I know it's associated with this account. Ledger Live will remember, right? If you try to access an account from the wrong device, it'll just tell you that there's a problem. But it's better that you know in advance by naming these accounts appropriately. So I'll just choose Add Account here. And we're done. And there you go. You can see now that I've got that Ethereum balance from this Ledger Nano S. And let's hit Add Account one more time. And this time we'll add that Litecoin account and hit Continue. All right, it's going to ask me to open the Litecoin account. I'll hit both buttons. All right, and you'll notice that there are a couple of empty ones that I'm not interested in. I can just deselect all of them and just tick off the one that I'm interested in, right? This is the one that I want to manage in Ledger Live. And once again, I want to name this guy appropriately. So I'll call this one Litecoin Ledger S. Now notice here that it's, by default, it has the native SegWit Litecoin account ticked, right? Because this is the newer format. So if we accidentally hit Add Accounts, and then we've got this empty Litecoin account here that's native SegWit, that's all well and good if you want to move your Litecoin into the newer account. It's not really necessary, but you can. But I don't need this empty Litecoin account, right? So I'm just going to click on it, and then I'll go up here to the Edit Account and hit Delete, right? Because I really don't need it. All right, and there we go. Now, there are a couple things I should mention while we're here. First of all, we've got everything back the way it was before in my earlier version of Ledger Live. But it doesn't have the same look and feel that my other one did. So I can go up here to Settings, in General, and then I'll just select the theme I had before, which was Dusk, right? So it looks like it did before. Also here, I could select my region, so to make sure that it's got the right time and everything. And then if we go back, you can see that it looks the same as it did before now. All right. One other thing I should mention, it didn't ask me to set up a password when I reinstalled. So if you want to set a password on your Ledger Live, you can do that also in the settings. Now, mind you, this is just a password for Ledger Live, which means that in order to open and access the Ledger Live software, you need the password. A lot of people, maybe they forget this password, but it's really not that big of a deal. All you have to do is reinstall Ledger Live. You don't need to use the same password you had before. You can choose a different one or you can use the same one. It doesn't really matter. This is just to lock other people out of your Ledger Live, even if they don't have your device. So all I need to do is go here to Password Lock and tick this on. It's going to ask me to choose a password. And there we go. Now we can go back. And then if we close Ledger Live and open it again, it's going to ask for that password now. Another thing that I like to do in the settings, if you go up here to the settings again, is I don't like the fact that Ledger Live asks you for a password every 10 minutes. Like, it's a little bit irritating. So you can turn that behavior off completely by hitting never. But then if you walk away from your computer, Ledger Live will stay on. So if you want a little bit more security and a little bit less annoyance, then maybe choose 1 hour. That's usually enough time to get things done, while you're checking other things and not have it keep asking you for the password every 10 minutes. All right, so there you go. I reinstalled Ledger Live on a brand new machine. I use the Ledger devices to reestablish the wallets. They never really went anywhere. They were always there on the device and on their respective blockchains, right? The cryptocurrency is stored on the blockchains. The devices allow you access to those blockchain addresses. They're like the keys to your car, or maybe the keys to a safe deposit box at a bank, or a post office bank at the post office, right? You can think of the blockchain as being out there, right? The cryptocurrency is not stored in Ledger Live or on the device, but the device remembers all of the wallet addresses for you. All right, if you have any questions about anything I did, please throw them up in the comments and I'll do my best to get them answered. Don't forget, I do a live stream every Saturday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please join me for the live stream from Michigan, where you can throw out questions and I'll do my best to get them answered. Hope to see you there. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, I would appreciate it. When you subscribe, there's a little bell that you can click that will allow you to be alerted whenever I post new content. Once again, thanks for joining me and hope to see you again soon.